brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. The epic harvest continues. And it is an epic harvest. It's a big field, this. It's not as big as the other one, to be fair. The other one is considerably bigger than this one, but this one is big enough. I can say that with all sincerity and a whole truckload of certainty. Yes, it's definitely big enough. But as I say, we're getting on with it, and it doesn't really look as though we've made any real headway into the field. But in terms of if you were using a big combine, we've now got the headlands off. You know, so I usually with the big combines do about 3 breeds around the outside of the field, and then go from there in terms of you know, going up and down them. But we obviously can't go up and down with this one because you know, it's obviously offset to the tractor, and that means that you know, we would at some point have to drive on the crop, which you know, is not favourable. So we're having to just go round and round and round and round, which is, you know, how they did it. I mean, I've been to a couple of I think it's called Old Iron Days locally around Lincolnshire, and you know, on the plots that we've seen these types of ball behind combines, that's how they do it. So yes, that is the only way we can do it. So as I say, that's what we're doing. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all having a good afternoon and a good day. Mine's not going too bad as I record this. It's a very dark, dull, rainy day here in Lincolnshire, or Great Britain probably generally, although usually, you know, we're all suffering with really miserable weather, and then someone not too far away sort of kind of rings up and goes, "Oh no, it's really bright sunshine here, it's lovely." And so it's kind of like, okay, just rub it in, why don't you? So yes, but it's not going too bad. As I say, we get this field harvested, and then we've not got too much in the way of you know, sort of too much work to do thereafter for probably a couple of 3 months until those soybeans are ready. But it will give us the opportunity to get this field you know, manure spread and ploughed. I don't know whether we're going to have enough manure to do the manure spreading completely in this field, so I don't know whether to plough it and then manure spread on top once we've got more manure, or whether to just use what we've got and be done with it, and then it will sort of double pile up for next year. I don't know. But what we have got there at the moment, there is nowhere near enough. There is nowhere near enough manure for that. We have got quite a bit of slurry, but slurry is even worse than than manure. The slurry runs out twice as fast as manure spreading. So with that, I just don't know whether it's for the yield bonus that you gain. I don't know whether it's worth doing or not. I don't. To be fair, I don't actually think the dairy back in the 1950s slurry spread their fielders anyway. There's lots of mentions of manure spreading and people putting, you know, sort of, or tractor drivers putting scarves around their noses and mouth while they were manure spreading, and different, you know, sort of lots of, and they sort of cover themselves in plastic sheeting as well, so that they didn't get covered in, you know, in essentially cow poo. You know, might as well say it the way it is. You know, so I've heard lots of, indeed, Ray, my sort of trusted friend, who, well, I say he is a trusted friend, but you know, obviously his knowledge is solely based on the UK, whereas obviously we're set here in the Midwest, Ohio in America, and so his knowledge of that is surprisingly, nowhere near as good um, as the UK one. And I've sort of, I go on kind of what he says and then what I research and different things. And I said to him about the plastic cover, and he said, "Oh yes," he said, "definitely." He said, "I never did it myself." He said, "But my brother worked on a dairy in Lincolnshire." He said, and yes, he said he quite fondly recalls the time that he went manure spreading and had to don himself in plastic sheets, scarves, and who knows what else. He said just so as he didn't get covered in cow poo. So it's quite an amusing story. I have asked Ray a few times if he would come on video with me, and just I said, like, no one will see you, Ray, because he's really, oh, I don't want people to see me. And I'm like, no one will see you. Just give a chat about, while we're playing, sort of. I said, basically, while I'm doing 1950's Farm, I said, just to have you sort of speaking over the top of that, whilst I'm doing what I'm doing on screen, you speaking over the top about your stories and the things that happened back in the 1950's, why things were done the way they were. I said it would be really, really interesting. Lots of people would be really interested to hear it. I said, I for one, I'd love his stories. I mean, God bless her. My nan who's sort of sadly gone now. I mean, on a Sunday, I used to go down there on a Sunday morning, and we'd sort of sit there, and it'd be really quiet, and then I'd say, "Nan, tell me a story," and then she'd be like, "Of what?" And I said, "Of something that happened when you was a kid, or, I said, like, but right back in the day, like how houses were, how you lived, what life was like." And I absolutely used to just adore sitting there on a Sunday and, listening to Manan's stories and different things like that. And it's fantastic. And of course, I get the same, sort of interest and pleasure out of listening to Ray and his stories. And I know everyone else would, but he just won't do it. And, sadly, I can't make him. Which that sounded quite sinister. I didn't mean it sinisterly, if that's even a word. But yeah, no, I have tried, and I will keep trying, because maybe one day I will get him to break. But as at the moment, no. But yeah, so as I say, that's what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be doing in today's episode. We're going to be getting on with a little bit more. I'm trying to kind of do it in such a way where, because it had a long time ago, well before I think it was even before the summer, someone said, "Oh, it's quite easy the way you do this. You don't sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, using the small equipment, doing these massive fields. What you do is you record a bit for a video, and then as soon as the video's turned off, you get like loads of big tractors, and that's how you do it, And I don't, I genuinely do sit here for, the hours that I sort of say that I sit here and do it the way that I do it, because I want it to be authentic. I want to feel, and it's a computer game at the end of the day, but it's kind of, I want that sense of time of, that you sit down and you start a job, and it's not done in I mean, today in modern farming, I mean, looking over there, I mean, what would this field take? 2-3 hours, if that? I don't know, probably not even that. It would not take long. I mean, we could knock out 30 acres with a fairly smallish combine in probably about 4 hours. Yeah, about 3.5-4 hours, as long as everything ran smoothly. And when I say a fairly smallish combine, it is a small combine. The farm that I worked, the second farm that I worked on, 30-40 acre field, next to no time. We would be in and out of there and gone, especially with 2 combines. I mean, anything under 70 acres, we used to go field each, because it just wasn't worth having 2 combines in the same field. you know, it just wasn't. It just wasn't. That was not the most efficient way of doing it. And now, as I say, they've got rid of the 2 combines and they've just got one Lexion 8900. Which again, knocks fields out in no time at all. So yeah. But as I say, we're crack on with this, and as the way I'm doing it is I'm trying to kind of show you and highlight to you that I do actually sit here and I do it. Yes, I don't put all of it on camera because I don't necessarily think that people want to maybe sit and watch me, combine a field for 6 hours or whatever. I mean, this field, in all fairness, is not that bad. Once you kind of get, which we've nearly done actually, it won't be many more rounds, but once you've got that headland off up there going towards the farm, this field will disappear rapidly, and then this bit here as well. So as we go around the corner, I'll show you the bit that I mean. We'll empty the tank now because otherwise he won't be back in on time. As long as we empty a good lot of the tank, we weren't going to get it all empty by the time we turn, but as long as we get most of it out, and we have, so that's fine. But this bit here, so once we've got this bit now to the bit where it goes straight, once we've got this bit out, then this field is going to just literally start disappearing. We're sort of on the widest part, the longest part of the field at the moment, and the field will only get shorter. And for every breed that we take, obviously we knock a little bit of the length of the field off. So, as I say, it will quickly disappear. But I just want to get under there. I might as well go back there with a full trailer. I'm not going with a semi-full trailer, or with a not completely full trailer. I do want to just add that little bit in, but we can keep going, that's fine, there's no problem. When he gets there, Jesus, come on mate, hurry up. Even though I know it can't, I genuinely thought that was going to spill over then. Right, I'm going to actually hold it there because by the time we get to that corner, we're going to be virtually full. And then I'm going to have to turn on the corner, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, we're not doing too bad. We're doing okay. Once we've got this done, then we'll start to look at the manure thing. I mean, it might even be worth just waiting until sort of September, and then we will have another big load of manure to come in, and we will probably not be getting far from having what we require to do the field. And again, I won't show all of that on camera either. We'll do a video on it, and as I say, the reason why I do record this series a little bit differently to the way that I record the other ones is because and I've said it 1,000 times, the fields on here are massive and the tractors on here and the implements are small, and so it does take a while to do. So as I say, we'll get this back to the farm, get it tipped, and then what we'll do is we'll go over to time lapse, and then as I say, and then at the end, so it'll be like a chunk of time lapse rather than being broke up. I know I've started doing it in the broke up sense now, just so there's not this huge chunk, but as I say, for this particular save, it's what works the best, I think, personally. And I think it's the way that I need to do it. But for the other series, we will do a bit of time lapse chatting, and we will get sort of through it that way. But yeah, we'll see what happens. pile is starting to look pretty massive. I'm hoping beyond hoping that the elevator does go underneath this shed roof. Otherwise, this is going to take a long time to clear with that little shovel on the back of that tractor forklift that I've got. And it's going to take a very long time, that is. Because we are getting a lot of grain in here. I would say there's well over 100,000 litres in here already. You know, and it's only going to obviously get more because we've still got quite a bit of that field to go. What I might do is, the reason why I haven't done it is because, and the dairy actually did it in, so they started it in 1952, and by 1954 they had completed the sort of farm rebuild that they had. The buildings didn't look nothing like these white buildings as far as I can tell. I mean, most of the pictures are black and white, but as far as I can tell, they're not documented as being white buildings or anything like that. From what I can tell later on from the coloured photos that I've seen, they seem to be that red colour, or you know, a red colour, not necessarily that red colour, but a red colour or reddy colour. But yeah, in 1952 they started a big farm rebuild. You know, obviously they were getting grants. Obviously, you know, there was lots of encouragement and support for, you know, expansion and going bigger. Like I say, you know, Harry S. Truman put a lot of money into self-propelled combines. He put a lot of money into farms, you know, building up and expanding and stuff like that, you know, and other machinery things as well. That, you know, he was doing the development of tractors, you know, of implements. Say John Deere bought out, you know, their first sort of really big implements to go on the back of their crawler. You know, the drill that was, I think, was 5.5 meters wide, I think, if I remember correctly. You know, there was across the industry. You know, there was mass expansions, and you know, agricultural companies were expanding their equipment, were, you know, learning new technologies. You know, new technologies were coming in all the time, you know, it just grew, and the dairy wanted, you know, knew that they needed to be a part of it. If you were going to succeed, there was no point, you know, as there isn't today. You know, there is no point standing still. You know, the only way that you succeed today is debt and borrowing. You know, every successful business thrives on it. I was, you know, quite sort of shocked to learn that, but I was being told it the other day by it was yesterday, in fact, when I was talking to a local farmer that has just gained some more land and is having a big farm sort of rebuild at the moment. So the farm they've got at the moment, they're moving probably about a quarter of a mile down the road to a new location, and the place that they've just bought, the land that they've just acquired, is going to be the new farm. And I was sort of saying to them, you know, you must be doing really well. You know, obviously I didn't want to know the particulars, but I was saying, like, you know, you must be doing really well and what have you. And he said, no, he said the whole business is built on debt and borrowing. He said that's what the business is. You know, he said, and to be fair, it's the debt that gets me out of bed every morning for me to succeed. You know, he said, but that's how, you know, not only my business survives, but every big farming business in this country, that is how they're built. And yes, some do fall by the wayside, but you've got to try and be ahead of the game. You've got to try and be sharper, quicker and better than everyone else, you know. And you know, he said, hopefully we'll get the end goal, you know. And I said, well, what's the end goal then? So he said 25,000 acres. I said 25,000 acres. He said, yep. And I said, and how much you got at the minute? He said, about 13. So I was like, oh, great. I said, you know, fair play. He said, yeah. He said 25,000 acres by the time I'm 50. And I said, okay. I said, how old are you now? He said, 46. I said, whoa. I said, you might be cutting this one a bit fine. He went, yeah. He said, may well be. He said, but it's still the aim. So he said, we'll see what happens. Yeah, no. So it's interesting watching the business grow. So it's a fairly local farm to me, and from what I knew it as when I was growing up to what it is now, you would never believe it's the same people. But yeah, again, Dad retired, son took over, and the son, fresh impetus, new ideas, and the business has grown, unrecognisably in the last sort of 10, 15, maybe 20 years that the son has been in charge. I think it's probably about 10, 15 years that he's been in sole charge of the business. I occasionally speak to his dad, and I said to his dad, I said, do you miss it? He said, nah. He said, this kid, he said, this kid of mine, he said, in charge, he said, he makes me more than enough money. So for me just to go off every single bloody week of the year, somewhere new, somewhere different, do new stuff, meet new people, and he said, like, it's brilliant. He said, like, no, he said, I don't miss it at all. He said basically I was the guardian of the farm from my dad to my son, and he said, and he's the genius and the expert, because he said we're doing very well, which is really good. It's nice for them. They're nice people, very nice people. They do a lot for the community, a heck of a lot for the community, and a lot for the church, and a lot for other organisation and charities around locally, and they're very good. But yeah, anyway, I've gone on for far too long. I'm going to switch over to that time lapse that I promised, and I'll see you at the end. Bye for now. So there we go. We are rapidly getting across this field now. At least we can see the other side, which is a nice bit of relief, to be fair, because there is a point in this field when going round and round and round and round, when you sort of kind of think, am I actually just going round and round and round the same bit? I don't feel like I'm moving across this field, and then all of a sudden, it's like you kind of, I don't know, it's almost like you get reawakened from some sort of comatose sleep, and you think, Jesus, I've gone a long way across this field, and it's really odd. But as I say, thankfully we are moving across this field and we are getting there. There are one or two little bits, as you can see, that for whatever reason the combine's not able to get, but it's no big deal. They're only little tiny bits. There's probably about, you know, sort of 2-3 seeds of wheat in those bits, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so anyway, I was going to say before I switched over to the time lapse, which I'm terrible for, but what I was going to say was in 1952 the dairy farm took on quite a big expansion, and they took down a lot of sheds that were pre there. Well, I say a lot. They took down a couple of sheds that were already there, and they started to put in more sort of tractor bays, bale bays, and stuff like that. Now, I can't. Well, it's not that I can't. I obviously can, but the how can I sort of kind of say? So, because of the limitations of the actual game, I can't have the machinery and the workers and everything that they had in the 1950s. Now, workers were becoming, so in the early 50s they were a real problem, because many men and women went off to fight, and a lot of them never came back. And so in the early 50s, you know, humans were a really sort of rare sort of thing, you know, commodity sort of in a way. And not to think of humans like that, but if you like, you know, it was really hard to get hold of workers and work, you know, and sort of workforce and stuff like that. And then by probably the sort of 60s, the mid 60s, machinery was getting better, and this is another reason why, you know, I think agricultural companies had to develop bigger, better machines that needed less, you know, sort of manpower, that needed more horsepower, less manpower, you know, whereas before it, you know, it'd been quite clearly in the favour of manpower over horsepower, and as I say, like, you know, but the dairy sort of updated again, and one of the things that the dairy did was they put in the first, I mean, for its day, quite modern silo system. But that leaves me with a little bit of an issue, because there are no old style silos in the game. Now, obviously on Harry's farm we've got a silo. Yes, it's a modern day one, but it's the oldest that I can find. The elevator is nothing like the one they had in real life. You know, that's I can't. There's not much I can do about that. And as I say, the silos are not either. Now, it leaves me in a bit of a difficult sort of kind of predicament, because I don't really want to keep tipping into the sheds, because it takes obviously a great deal of effort and time to get all of that stuff out again. But at the same time, I'm a little bit worried that if I put sort of the silos that the game has to offer, and I've searched and searched and searched, you can't find sort of old style silos and elevators. Now for FS19, not only can I find old style silos and elevators, I can also find corn cribs. And since I've been educated quite brilliantly on corn cribs and why they used, what they used for, and stuff like that, then it would have been really nice to have been able to have put it into this farm, this save, and Where's the tractor gone? I was going to say I need a tractor. You know, it would have been quite nice to have put them in and used them, but what I'm thinking about doing is putting a couple of silos in and changing some of these sheds over to the red ones, because I don't really like these white ones. They're not really in keeping with what I'm trying to sort of achieve in terms of sort of feel and atmosphere of the save. I've been thinking about it a long time, and I couldn't bring myself to put modern day silos on the actual farm, but I've got to that point where I keep I keep like sort of seeing these sheds and the appearance, and I just sort of think it's really, for me personally, it's really letting the save down. So I'm kind of sort of saying, would anyone object to me putting in the modern sort of silos? Now we could either do it as individual silos and we could have the elevators and do it that way, or we could just have a silo mod that's been created where we literally drive over the pit and it magically goes into the bins and goes in the right places and separates. I don't mind sort of either way, but I have got to the point where I want to maybe stop using these sheds, because I mean the other thing as well is that that's detracting from it is, and you can see just here really well, but it bleeds through the walls, and so I try to, as much as I can, sort of keep it over. I've done a better job this side, I think, but then it's sort of gone to the back there. But yeah, it's annoying. But if we were to go out now, and I don't like showing you, but you can kind of see what I'm on about and why I want to do what I want to do. So it bleeds out, and I'll actually walk through the door first. So I was kind of sort of thinking, well, maybe it's time to put the silo system in. But again, let me know in the comments your thoughts. Do you want me to keep it that way, the way I'm doing it now? Are you not really opposed to the silos, or you're indifferent and say, well, actually it won't detract all that much from it? Because tipping on shed floors is, as far as I understand, now and back then, was not really an American thing. It was more of a UK thing, and probably European thing, because I've seen the same sort of setups as the UK in Holland and Germany and places like that. Now in the UK, silos are gradually coming in, and a lot of farms are switching slowly over to the farm that I was on about earlier, with 12,000 acres. They have now switched fully over to silos, and they have a grain pit, and then they elevate it up, and that's how they do it. And they're fully over now into silos. And then what they do is they then have 20,000 ton grain stores, and then once the silos are either stored or dried or whatever it is that they're going to do to the grain, because also built into their silo system is a colour sorter for the grain, and also I forget what they call it, but it basically takes ergot and stuff like that out of the wheat, so it's able to filter the wheat and make sure that only the highest quality wheat is sort of left, and everything else that's in the wheat that shouldn't be there, whether that be ergot, whether that be straw, whether that be bits of whatever, grass seed or whatever that's in there, gets removed. It's a very complex system, and I'm delighted that that he said to me yesterday, in June next year we're having an open day when the public can come round. They said, we know you've already been round, but well, hopefully you'll attend, and which I will be, and naturally I'll be filming that for YouTube, because it is an absolutely massive place, and it's a massive farm, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, as I say, that's going to be next year. But anyway, let me know in the comments your thoughts about the silos. As for this episode, I think we're going to leave it here. Thanks ever so much for watching. If you haven't done already, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really does help. to support the channel. It helps me as well, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. So, bye for now.